Get ready for Oskaloosa High School sports on the Indians Network. Live sports. Local content. Student-run broadcasts. MCG, Oski News, and KIIC bring you the Indians Network. Presented by Craig Ford.
Welcome to Indians Corner here on IndiansNetwork.tv, and I'm Joe Millage in for the vacationing Jamie Brockman. He'll be back with us next week. On today's show, we'll be talking basketball, a lot of basketball. We'll also be talking wrestling. The break is over. It's time for the second half. The second half of the winter sports season is going to be in full swing, and we'll be talking with Coach Randy Howard from the Oskaloosa boys basketball team. We'll talk to Noah Van Veldhuizen. We'll also be talking to J.C. White from the girls basketball team, as well as Mary Nelson. She'll be joining us from the girls basketball team. We'll talk to Chase Weber. He is the coach of a big wrestling squad here at Oskaloosa, and they've got some exciting wrestling action to take place here the second half of the season. That's all coming up on Indians Corner. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
This is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car, and you want to give them the protection they deserve with home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
Call State Farm agent Wendell Campbell at 641-673-4462.
Hy-Vee's Choice Reserve and Prime Reserve beef, arguably the best beef in America. Their quality and flavor are undisputable, undeniable. Let's get ready to be unstoppable! And the winner by unanimous decision, Hy-Vee!
Joe Millage back on Indians Corner here on the Indians Network. Joe Millage in for Jamie Brockman, who's vacationing this week. He'll be back on Indians Corner next week. We've got our boys basketball coach in with us, Randy Howard. And Randy, we gave the coach a day off today. He's at a volleyball game.
Yes.
And thanks for joining us on Indians
Not a
Corner.
problem, not a problem.
Well, here we are, the long break. You guys are probably ready to get back and playing some basketball.
We are. I take the Christmas break kind of like the beginning of the year where we've got a couple weeks to practice each other and it gets really boring after a while. You're ready to find somebody to play. So
Tell us a little bit about that break. What does the team do? What are you able to continue working on skills and plays and that sort of thing?
yes, absolutely. We've been working on a lot of skills over the Christmas shutdown and we were without Xavier for a little bit of that, but now he's back full force. So practice as normal. We had a scrimmage the weekend after Christmas. Waukee came to town, Cedar Rapids Prairie came to town. We do a little scrimmage there where we play 20-minute halves, and that worked out pretty well for us. So we always do that every year and get a good scrimmage.
Keeps a little bit of the calorie burn going, right, from
Yes.
all of that eating around the Christmas break. And I would assume, too, playing those good schools continues to help refine skills.
It does, it does. It gives you a chance to see what you need to work on a little more. Xavier was there for those. He wasn't full force yet. That was kind of his first time back, so he was getting a couple minutes here and there. So it made us learn to play without him a little bit, and which we need to do. And yeah, I felt like it was pretty good for everybody.
Well, the break is over, Coach, and it's time to get back to basketball, and you have a huge game coming up this week. Talk about Tuesday. Now, this show will air on Wednesday, and we don't know the outcome of that, but talk about that game with Norwalk.
Yes, the big game, you know. I mean, it's Norwalk, it's Bowen Bourne. I think he's averaging 36 or 7 points a game right now, which is crazy. They've got the Johnson kid averaging about, I don't know, high 18 or so, somewhere in there. It's the rematch, you know. It's the big game, so we're ready for it. They're going to come to our place and do what they do, and we'll do what we do. Last time they came to our place, we kind of put a thumping on them, you know, so that was even without Cole Henry last year, so maybe we can do the same this year, and we'll see how all that plays out.
Norwalk comes to town on Tuesday, and they've got revenge on their mind. Very, very close game. Of course, they lost that game last year at Wells Fargo Arena. Isaac Schultz had a great game. He was tagged to Bourne, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he was in that game. Now we've got some younger kids this year. We've got 4 or 5 point guards we're rolling through. We're a little deeper than we have been in the past, so there'll be other kids assigned to them also. But we'll take our chances and roll through with the guys we have, and we'll see how all that plays out.
And talk a little bit about the condition of Xavier Foster. He will be back?
He's been cleared to play. He had mono, of course. Now the doctors have cleared him to play, so he's been back right there since about Christmas break. He got cleared and to practice with us and have physical contact, so now he's back full force.
Leading scorer for the Indians, Xavier Foster. And some of these kids remember that game last year. Some of these kids were in that game and know how good Bourne plays. You had mentioned 36 points a game, shoots 57% from the field, 40% success from the three-point line. He's going to be tough to guard against.
He's crazy. He's crazy good. He has about three parts of his game. He can shoot the three, he can get around you and shoot the mid-range, and he likes to get to the rim. Traditionally against Oski, he's tried to get to the rim, but that's why we have Xavier there. So we take that away from him. He's going to get his points. That's kind of how we look at it. Hopefully it's not 50. He gets his points, and we got to keep everybody else shut down and not playing well and get ourselves a win out of that.
Talking with Randy Howard, pinch hitting today for Coach Parker. And Coach, another thing that you've got a young team, and without Foster in for a while, a chance for some other players to step up. Got a lot of great sophomores like Flaherty, Will Schultz, David Nelson, Charlie North, all showing some good time on the court.
Exactly. I think in the Newton game we actually had 5 sophomores on the floor at one time. Daryl Fain's in that mix, Jensko. Yeah, we have a lot. We're sophomore heavy right now. We still have our seniors, and we have 4 starting seniors, I believe. We play a lot of sophomores and get it done with that. So,
when you talk about the big game on Tuesday night, of course, Foster going to Iowa State, Bourne going to UNI. There's going to be a lot of folks there, but it doesn't get any easier after that,
No,
Coach.
no.
Friday, I believe, is Pella, and then the next Tuesday, I believe you're on the road to Indianola, or maybe you have Indianola.
Indianola and Pella Christian the week after.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're coming out of the chute heavy.
Yeah. Well, certainly a good game with a good team like Norwalk just continues to help get you ready. I'm gonna ask this. I think of all of the coaches today, where have you seen, I guess, the biggest improvement of your team? Maybe a certain player, or maybe just the mentality of the team.
I would say the mentality of the team. I mean, we literally have these sophomores stepping up right now that have no experience on varsity, really. Will Schultz had a little last year, but we've got the 4 or 5 kids you mentioned there, and getting in, they all have their role on the team, 3-point shooters, guards, getting to the rim. I would say that's probably what we've bumped up on a little bit right now.
Well, the rest of the season's right in front of us, and of course you control your destiny, Coach, and I'm sure the kids are well aware of that. Let's turn our attention a little bit to Coach Parker. I think it goes without saying, a lot of folks know he's going to have a medical procedure done, and you're up.
Yeah.
You and
Yes.
Devon are up.
Yeah, he has a procedure on the 9th of January, and he's stepping down at that point for the rest of the season. Won't be able to be in school, I believe, for a few months as an AD or a coach. So, yeah, he's kind of backed out during Christmas break a little bit and let us do a little more. And that's kind of what he said to us. You're up. You guys go with it.
I don't know if you'll have an earpiece in for, live from Coach Parker and giving you some suggestions during the game, but I think it's been nice for you to be able to coach under his tutelage as well, right? And
Yes.
In fact, off camera, you were just mentioning how he's a great coach, great to learn from, and I'm sure you'll just be continuing on with his lineage there.
Yeah, exactly. There was a game, kind of funny, that he was texting us all on the bench, and none of us wanted to check our phones. And afterwards, he said, "Check your phones, check your phones." So, yeah,
Was he calling a timeout?
No, just wanting to know what's going on and why we're doing certain things. So it was kind of funny, but that might happen some more.
I'm sure it will, and we'll have to make sure that on the Indians Network, we'll be sure to get to say hello to Coach and wish him well during these games. Coach Randy Howard, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to talk to Noah Van Veldhuizen after the break and talk to one of these great star players, averaging 14 points a game himself. and looking forward to this week and the next several weeks of big games for Oskaloosa. We'll be right back after these messages on the Indians Corner on the Indians Network, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Wendell Campbell State Farm. Coach, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Shake the sugar tree till I feel you.
He was swinging,
Swinging.
yeah, just a swing. I'd get it one piece at a time, and it wouldn't cost me a dime.
You mind your own business. Mind your own business. Everybody in town knows I'm crazy over you.
Thunder Country, your all-time favorites.
How does MCG Internet stack up against the rest? Our customers' four-letter word to describe us: love. Their customers' four-letter word to describe them. Join MCG and fall in love with your internet.
Welcome back to Indians Corner on the Indians Network, brought to you by Oski News, KIIC Thunder Country, and MCG. We're glad to have one of our star players with us right now, Noah Van Veldhuizen. Welcome to the show. Have you ever been on the show with Jamie?
I was during football season.
Awesome. Well, we turned the page to basketball season, and the break is over. Are you ready to play some basketball?
I am. Practice is fun and all, but I'm ready for some games again. So.
Absolutely. Get that jersey on and get out on the hard court. Now, Coach told me during the break that you guys had a little fun bowling. Tell me a little bit about that.
So we did it last year too. After our last practice of break, before we go into a weekend, and then we start games up again. We go bowling as a team just to try to get the feelings back there and get everybody on the same page before we start games back up.
How did you do?
My team actually won, so I was pretty proud of that. It was a close round, but.
Now, you won't, when you get out there on the court, you won't confuse the weight of the bowling ball with the weight of the basketball.
I hope not. We don't want to be breaking backboards. So.
All right, well, this show airs on Wednesday nights, and the Norwalk game would have already happened, but tell me a little bit about what you remember from last year's championship game.
It was a lot of defense. It was a very defensive game, that wasn't to be expected, I think, because you have Bowen Bourne and Cole Henry and Xavier Foster, which are all just great scorers, but it ended up just being stop after stop, and we ended up at 48-44, I think. So it was a very defensive game, so I think if we can hold that up again this year, we might pull it off. And
as we talked with Coach Howard, they're going to be coming in loaded for bear, remembering that game that they lost in the waning moments last year. So it will be tough, but it's nice to get them at home.
Yes. Especially for the first game of the year against them, we like to get a home crowd and hopefully get the energy picked up on our side. So.
It should be a huge crowd. Talk a little bit about your play. 14 points a game, I think, is what you're averaging. 5 rebounds a game. You're a senior, and here we go, second half, and it's all right in front of you.
For the team, I think the best part that I can do is just try to knock down some shots when I'm left open. And with Zay out lately, there's not very many posts to feed. I mean, we can get it to Colton, but a lot of teams have a guy taller than that in our conference with a lot of height. So knock down shots when you're open is what we've been trying to do. So.
What sorts of things during the break? Coach Howard talked about you took on you scrimmaged some other teams.
Yep.
What sorts of things did the team and maybe you personally work on during the break to try to improve on?
So when we got Zay back from mono, we had our post action pickup again. So we worked on feeding the post and passing the ball around more, and then we worked a lot on transition. So we're trying to get more running to try to get ahead of teams because we feel like we're a good running team and we're all pretty quick. So we're trying to work on our transition game.
And this week is a huge week. You've got, of course, you've got Norwalk Tuesday night. You've got Pella, then Indianola, Pella Christian. Are you looking past Norwalk? Are you getting ready for any of those other games? Or how do you get ready for all those that are just coming one right after the other?
It's not necessarily looking past. It's more of just preparing for, you're going through the gauntlet right when you get back. It's like Coach Foster tells us before every game, the first 4 minutes of each half are important because you want to set the tone for the game. And you know that the first few games back from break are going to most likely set the tone for the rest of the year, so you want to come out strong and get a few wins.
And on that Norwalk game Tuesday night, I know we keep coming back to it a little bit. How will you know that early on in that game that you've got a shot at beating them again?
If we start strong and we stay with them in the first quarter and we have the energy going into the second quarter and the end of the half. We should definitely be in the game and be able to win.
And maybe born with 3 fouls by halftime.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, that's Noah Van Veldhuizen joining us on the Indians Corner. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Have a great second half of the season. We'll be right back with more. We'll be talking girls basketball, maybe a little wrestling before the end of the hour, right here on the Indians Corner on Indians Network.
Hy-Vee's Choice Reserve and Prime Reserve Beef, arguably the best beef in America. Their quality and flavor are undisputable, undeniable. Let's get ready to be unstoppable! And the winner by unanimous decision, Hy-Vee!
Welcome back to Indians Corner. Joe Millage in for the vacationing Jamie Brockman. He'll be back with you next week. We're glad to have J.C. White in with us. We're going to talk girls basketball. Welcome back. It's the second half.
Second half, ready to get going.
What did you guys do during break? I asked the boys basketball coach the same question.
We had a scrimmage. I mean, we had practice. We kind of had an extra day off that we typically don't get just because we don't play till Tuesday. So we gave the first off and got some rest and got to scrimmage some teams. One team we see and a couple teams we don't typically see. And other than that, it was a lot of rest.
You scrimmaged Fairfield, Ottumwa, and Sigourney during the break, and it's a great learning opportunity for the girls.
Yeah, we play Fairfield early in the season, and we probably hung with them. I mean, we just played continuous clock, so it wasn't an official scrimmage or anything, but we really played well against them. And Sigourney, they're tough and they're athletic, and our post girls got some work inside. There's not a lot of teams, that have strong girls inside, and so that was good to get some post work against them. And then Ottumwa was just fast and athletic, and so we got some good looks to prepare us for teams coming up in our conference.
Well, in that last game of the season, right before the break against Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont, some three-pointers to force it into overtime. Girls are really playing competitive right now.
Yeah, would have been nice to get that one. We just weren't quite deep enough. We had a bunch of our starters on the bench. We had in foul trouble that game, but we executed late in the game, executed into regulation, and came back from, I think we were down 16 at one point, and just competing. We talk about every game. Our goal to win games is limit turnovers, and there's teams that we do that better against, and there's teams that we really struggle with that against. But it comes down to turnovers for us most of the time. But yeah, we're competing, we're playing hard, and doing good things.
Awesome, and this week is another big week. Norwalk out of the chute, and then you've got Pella and Indianola. Tell us about how this week looks for you guys.
It's going to be a tough week. Norwalk returns a lot from last year, and they're playing really well right now. And Pella, they always have athletes, and any game we walk into in our conference is going to be tough. And that I trust that our girls are going to step out ready to play and play hard and compete.
It's going to be a big crowd. It'll help propel the girls' game right before the boys' game. Should be a big home team crowd there on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully they show up a little early, give some support to the girls, and help get us going.
Absolutely. Well, talk about the improvement, maybe what you've seen here the first half of the season and where you've seen the biggest improvement and where you want to take your team the next half.
Offensively, we've improved a lot. I tell the girls, every night out, we're not going to see the results of our offensive improvement on the scoreboard against every team in our conference, but we're moving the ball a lot better than we used to. We're attacking the rim a little better. We're taking shots, staying confident. I've got a few girls that didn't shoot well against Eddyville that kept shooting, and you'll hear from Mary in a little bit. And Mary was one of those where she's our constant offensively, and Macy stepped up in a game where some of our typical scorers were struggling, and so we've got girls that are looking to score.
6-3. Macy had 6 3-pointers in that game we were just talking about with Eddyville Blakesburg. It'd be nice to have those continue on through the season.
Yeah, that would open it a lot up for us to have extra shooters around the outside, open up our post play inside. So that'd be big coming into break, having more than one shooter.
Well, we are going to talk to Mary Nelson after the break, but tell us a little bit about Mary. She's a senior. And, the team, you've got a young team and you've got a tough conference, and it's important to have senior leadership on your basketball team.
Yeah, Mary you didn't see last year. She tore an ACL. She was a really important role for us last year. You know, she was at every practice working hard. She came back from her ACL. She didn't make it in the season. She wanted to. Got cleared early. So she was fighting hard last year all season long to try and get back, and she's really stepped up for us this year. That, you know, nobody questions her effort. She's not always the vocal leader on the court, but they follow her play, they follow her example, because she's one that isn't going to give up. And so when she's on and when she's scoring, there's a lot of confidence in our team.
Well, I know we aired this on Wednesday night, so the Norwalk game would have happened. So let's talk a little bit about Pella, if you don't mind me jumping ahead just a little bit. Talk about that game on Friday.
They'll play fast. We got to be ready to transition and slow the game down. You know, we can be successful if we can slow the game to our pace, and we got to be able to transition and play at their pace when we have to, and limit turnovers, of course, like always.
That's J.C. White, girls head basketball coach, and we will talk to Mary Nelson when we come back right after the break. You're watching Indians Corner on the Indians Network. Joe Millage in for Jamie Brockman. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks, Joe.
This is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car. And you want to give them the protection they deserve. With home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
Call State Farm agent Wendell Campbell at 641-673-4462.
Welcome back to Indians Corner. I'm Joe Millage in for Jamie Brockman, and we want to thank our sponsors, Hy-Vee and Wendell Campbell State Farm. And of course, we thank MCG, Oski News, and Thunder Country as well for being a part of the Indians Network. Now, we've got Mary Nelson. In the summers, you'll see her at the pool, because that's where she works. But in the winter season, she's on the hard court, right?
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to those pool days right now during the dead of winter?
Yeah, they're much nicer than right now.
Well, Mary is a senior. She averages about 9 points per game. And what do you like about playing for Oskaloosa?
The girls are always just so much fun during practice. You normally don't see during the game because it's normally tough, but we do have a lot of fun together outside of basketball and during practice.
I mean, that's important, right? It builds camaraderie, and you need a lot of teamwork when you're out trying to defeat the opponent.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't we see you on the court last year?
I tore my ACL at the end of my sophomore year in a soccer game. So that took me out of volleyball and basketball.
And how is that injury? Are you fully recovered? How do you feel?
I feel 100%, maybe even better than before I tore it.
Well, as we talked with Coach right before this segment, a lot of scrimmages during the break. You're probably ready to get back to playing basketball too, right?
Yeah.
And what are some of the things that you worked on during the break?
We worked on as a team, like different offenses, especially transitioning down faster and getting more looks right away rather than waiting a long time.
Awesome. And in terms of your personal game?
Well, right before the break, I kind of had an off game, so I've been working on my shot and trying to get that to be more consistent than it was during that game.
Very good. Well, we talked a little bit about what your summer plans are, but what are your plans after you graduate being a senior this year?
I'm planning to go to UNI and major in communication disorders.
Well, tell us a little bit more about that. Why are you interested in that?
Well, I have a sister with special needs, and I've just been interested in helping kids like she's been helped.
That's fantastic. Well, we wish you good luck after you graduate, but also good luck in these next games coming up. It's going to be a tough road. Got a lot of tough competition coming up.
Yeah. The conference is always tough, but we'll come out and compete hard.
Very good. That is Mary Nelson, and she's joining us here. You'll see her on the court this week. Get out and support the girls and the boys as they've got a lot of tough games coming up. We'll be right back after this.
Oskaloosa, it's our community, and we're thankful to be a part of it. Telling its stories, sharing its smiles. We're building community, keeping you informed, giving you a voice, letting you know you're never alone. During the victories losses, happiness, and pain. For tomorrow's a new day, and we'll be there, working for you, ready to tell your story. That's our commitment. It's what we do, now and in the future, because we're always on. We're Oskaloosa News.
Joe Millage back on Indians Corner, and good to have you with us today. We want to thank Hy-Vee and Wendell Campbell State Farm for sponsoring Indians Corner right here on MCG and Oski News and Thunder Country. We've got Chase Weber. We've talked a lot of basketball today, but we're going to talk wrestling as wrestling really heats up in the month of January. Back from the break, Chase, and you guys are probably ready to get on the mat.
Yes, varsity guys have had a couple weeks off. They're definitely ready to kind of get rid of the grind of practice and get back to competition mode.
Competition mode before break was Pella. Tell us a little bit about that Pella tourney.
Going in, we had a couple guys get sick, so we actually were missing a few in the lineup from normal. We were talking a minute ago about filling that lineup, and we have plenty of bodies, but when you have the random sickness at the end of the week, we kind of had some holes, but we did do better than last year. We've talked, I think, every week about the progress is looking good, and we're improving. But then with the tournament, we could have done better. I mean, we did better than last year, but we still could have done more. If we would have had a couple more people, and we had 3 guys end up in the finals. We had one person win it, Leland Evans, won his second tournament in a row, and then Wyatt Creer and Connor Harbor were the other finalists. So that was all nice to have some more success there.
Yeah, that gives those kids a lot of motivation and excitement as competition gets ready to heat back up here tomorrow night, in fact, Thursday night. Before we talk about that, let's take a step back, Coach, and learn a little bit more about your team. You've got a ton of kids out between JV and varsity.
We got a good group of freshmen, and the carryover from the sophomores was pretty good. I think we only had, at least to start the season, about 4 guys that we didn't retain. And from having 15 or so, 16 or so, that's not too bad for us. If we can keep them out that way, and keep the 10 out every year, and start averaging the 40 every year, and not make it a surprise. But they're a good group of younger kids. We're trying to keep them out. The seniors have been around for like all 4 years. I think we have one. Austin Adams came out this year and gave it a shot, so we have an extra senior, but everyone else has been around, so they've got the more experience. It's just there's only 5 of them. We want, like I said, we want the 10. We want the 15 each year, and see what we can do with that when they become seniors.
But total, the whole crop is around 40.
Yes. Yep. Start of the season was a little higher, and now we're a little lower, but yeah, right around 40 is the magic number. And as far as the room, it's fitting fine. We have to do a little more group work and take turns a little bit more than we ever have, but we're making it do with what we got.
Well, and when you have 40 kids out for wrestling, certainly it makes it easier. Kids get to wrestle other kids, and you're able to fill those weight classes as well. Now, of that 40, we've heard a lot recently about women's wrestling, and the popularity of women's wrestling really picking up. Some schools like Sheraton are fielding a whole team of women's wrestlers. What about Oski?
In the past, we've had a few out each year. The Graham girls that came through, they're in and out of the team between same thing, kind of injuries and things like that. So they were around. The rest of the state wasn't quite as caught up then. I mean, I wish they'd be freshmen right now, because the landscape has totally changed from when they had to go through it. And now more teams are fielding actual girls teams. They can have their own practice. Depending on room size, they could be in practice and have their own space, where they don't have to practice with the boys, and they can have enough of their own female partners, and it makes things a lot easier on just comfort level and skill level. And so, yeah, we have 1 on the team right now. I think there's 2 or 3 in the middle school this year, and I mean, it's kind of been what they've been having, and then we'll see if they keep trying it more. And there's some other girls that talked to us before the season started, but they didn't show up when we actually
didn't actually make it to the
mat.
Well, Coach, we hear a lot of things about high school football and how those numbers have dwindled a little bit over the last several years. But, the state of Iowa loves its wrestling, and that's indicative of the growth. And I think, adding the female wrestling, it's just continued to be a really strong athletic event for these high schools.
Yeah, big time. And some of these schools that have the full teams, Battle of Waterloo was a big dual tournament a couple weeks ago. And they actually had a girls 4 or 5 girl teams that did full duels with each other. And that's got to be the future that people need to be looking for. Like, set your team up and then go have your own separate, nights of competition for yourselves and showcase that, and not just 1 or 2 and go to a tournament, but teams are already starting it. So that's something we can try to catch up to.
Oskaloosa hits the road tomorrow night, Thursday night, on the road to Newton. Tell us a little bit about that matchup. And then your Saturday, you've got a big tournament coming up.
Thursday, Newton's conference, so really trying to make sure guys are tuned in. So those matchups matter for the conference tournament later in the year. And then the conference tournament, there's a couple of people there that'll be at district, so we really want to give ourselves the best shot. Newton always has a couple of tough guys. Their upper weights traditionally have. There's a couple of good guys right now that came back from last year. So, matching up wise, we got some young guys in the lineup. There's a couple that are probably going to be battling this week to see who wants to be the starter after break. We got a couple of guys that were talking about it and maybe changing weights and trying to challenge. So, we'll go out and we'll be able to fill all the weights and be able to battle, but who knows how it's going to end up.
It's really good that all of the weight slots are filled. Now, talk a little about Cody Gunn. I think he had a knee injury, and is he back?
Yes, he is cleared to come back. He's been practicing. We've been easing into it, talking to our therapy and trainers and trying to make sure we're on the right track. Everything seemed to be going really well. He had high hopes, I think, of coming back for that Pella tournament, but the trainers and everybody was saying just wait one more round and make sure you're fully good. He's been practicing hard. He's been cleared to go a little more live. So besides just a little conditioning and checking weight, he's pretty much good to go.
Excellent. We look forward to watching him wrestle. Wyatt Career, 14 wins so far, and Leland Evans, 11 wins. Trey Miller, 11 wins as well, and Keegan right there in the mix as well. Talk about the skill and how they're doing so far.
Well, with Keegan and Wyatt being the seniors, the experience has really paid off, and it's fun to see the growth just in kids. Where Wyatt's coming in as a senior, and you can tell he's totally different, step up from last year, and that's made a big difference on some of these matches. He's had close ones and grinded out, or he's had catching opportunities and making the pin instead of missing it from maybe last year, like kind of situation. So he's been doing really well. He's gotten some good matchups when we made finals at Pella, and we kind of got caught in a weird move and flipped over. So that was not really I don't want to say a fluke, but it wasn't our normal match speed. So that didn't make him look as good as he really was. And then Leland's doing well. He's won 2 tournaments so far, and our other tournament that we've had was a dual tournament. So that one you don't have an individual bracket. So he's kind of on a roll. We need to try to see if Winterset would be a big win. It's been a handful of years. I think we had maybe 1 finalist ever since going there, but we'll see what we can squeeze out of these guys when we go there. Keegan, like I said, 10 wins, but he was one of those sick kids that didn't make it to Pella, and so he could have a little more success. He could have had a little more stats to add to it. And then Trey's a freshman, and he's having a pretty good year at 120. Not too bad of a weight class for a younger kid. Usually the middle and the higher as you get up, it's a little bit harder the younger you are, but he's doing good. He's had some good matches with some tough kids. I think 1 or 2 of his losses came when we thought he was coming down with mono or something, but he ended up okay. And just now that we're healthy, he looked good Saturday as well.
Very good. Well, Coach, we talked about the tournament Saturday, and then of course the match against Newton Thursday night. But we have a lot of home matches coming up on Thursday nights, and folks will be able to tune right in to IndiansNetwork.tv or MCG Cable to see those matches, which give folks a great opportunity to watch this club and also maybe learn a little bit more about wrestling. But you guys are going to be busy hosting.
Yes, it's nice because we don't have to travel, but we have to set it up and make sure everything runs. And so being home is always an advantage. You got a little more comfort in your warm-up, and you got a little more edge to your competition. So it's nice that we got the rotation to it's happened to all fall in the same year. Some of those are triangulars where there's 3 different schools you got to share with, so rotation doesn't always come back right away. We got Indianola will be home, DCG will be home, and then we have there's the the Williamsburg and Washington and Keokuk come over for a big one. That's usually a late night, so it's nice to be home instead of traveling for that one. So yeah, next 4 weeks after this, we go to Newton next week, or tomorrow I guess for this recording, but we go 4 in a row, and then it's almost conference and district time.
Yeah, that seems to just come so fast. And the great thing about wrestling, I think, is that you can have one kid from one school make it all the way to Wells Fargo Arena. With basketball and some of the other sports, that's completely different. Talk a little bit about how this works for Class 3A in wrestling. You guys don't do a regional for individuals, but you do for teams, right? And then also districts is, I think, is it the first or second weekend of February, and then we're state tournament time.
Right. So for the team-wise, to compare it to basketball or something, our regional, it goes off of our coaches' ranking for the team. And because there's X amount of teams in 3A, and we don't have that sectional, which the 1A and 2A have, our regional comes out of that kind of ranking of how the teams are, and then they pair it up and give it a one-night qualifier. So like the number 1 team should be with like a 16 and a 24, or however the state tries to balance out.
Yep.
And then with 1A, 2A, they have a sectional weekend.
Right.
If you get first or second at sectionals, you qualify for regionals for 1A, 2A. It's a little bit different there for team-wise.
Yeah.
But individual, when that sectionals for 1A, 2A, they have an individual of a 8-man bracket, and then they meet up for a district of a 4-man bracket.
Yep.
3A, because there's less total schools, we just have districts, but it's an 8-man district bracket.
And first and second coming out of there go to state. Yeah.
Right. So all classes at districts is first and second.
Yeah.
And so then you get a 16-man bracket at state.
A lot of wrestling to happen before that time, and I'm sure you're looking forward to that as we see you up at Wells Fargo Arena each and every year. Coach, with so many kids out and having to take care of JV also, how about a shout out to all your other assistants and coaches who I know sometimes when you're over here, they have to be over there, and vice versa.
Yeah, we just had a JV tournament yesterday, and we all got to go to. We got Brett Foster and Travis Miller are my number 1, number 2 assistants. I got Rob Campbell and Matt Mish are helping volunteer, and then even middle school, Andy Foos did that this year with Justin Van Oschen. He came up for the first time, I think, to help out coach our middle school. So all those guys helping out little bits and pieces. And with JV, usually the schedule interferes with everything else we got going on if we set it up. And I tried to get them as much stuff as competition as I could. And they're gone in different places, so I got coaches all over the place. And if it's just me at practice, or if it's 2 and 2, or however we figure it out. But yeah, it is quite chaotic if you don't know what's going on.
A lot of people to keep track of. Well, as wrestlers would probably tell you, they love to hear when the fans are cheering, because when they're down on the mat, you're the only person that they're cheering for, really, as opposed to the whole team. And so I'm sure you would agree, fans need to come out and support these kids, especially we've got a lot of Thursday night meets coming up. They need to get out and support these kids and yell at them.
Yeah, louder the better. Fill the gym to make it rumble, or even if it's in a way, if you can travel and come help there, that's usually the downside of going to an hour away to a duel where your fans don't all get to go, so then you have this quiet crowd. But the 1 or 2 parents always have a little louder voice that you can hear them. But home crowd is always awesome if we can get student section, get those people back out there too, just like the basketball games. And I think we might have some pin shirts to throw out this year if you guys show up.
There you go.
And see us wrestle and get some pins. You might have something fun to catch in the crowd, but you got to show up to get it.
Get out and support these Indian grapplers. Coach Chase Weber, thanks a lot for joining us on the Indians Corner. Appreciate it. We look forward to seeing your kids out on the mat and you back here at Indians Corner.
Thanks for having me. Hope to see you.
All right, we'll be back right after this.
Hy-Vee's Choice Reserve and Prime Reserve Beef, arguably the best beef in America. Their quality and flavor are undisputable, undeniable. Let's get ready to be unstoppable! By unanimous decision, Hy-Vee!
This is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car. And you want to give them the protection they deserve. With home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
Call State Farm agent Wendell Campbell at 641-673-4462.
Well, that's going to do it for today's show. I'm Joe Millage, thanking you for joining us. I would also like to thank our guests today, Coach Randy Howard, Coach J.C. White, also Coach Chase Weber, and also want to thank a couple of our athletes for coming in today as well. I want to thank Noah Van Veldhuizen as well as Mary Nelson for coming in and joining us on the Indians Corner. Don't forget, you can catch a lot of these events, a lot of these athletic events right here on MCG Channel 7. Also follow them on oskinews.org. We're so glad you've joined us. We're happy to have Hy-Vee and Wendell Campbell State Farm helping to sponsor Indians Corner as well. Thanks again for watching and continue to follow IndiansNetwork.tv.